Okay, John Mearsheimer. I do not think that I need to introduce him anymore. People who are able to find this channel probably know him very well by now. And instead of talking about him, I want to introduce to you guys how a Chinese person like me see the world by using John as an example, okay? Um, I first came across his video at the beginning of the Ukraine war. I think that is how a lot of other people get to know him as well. When I first watched his video, the first one is when he recorded the video, I think 8 years ago. And then there's some new updates after the war. Okay. And I spent 2-3 hours sitting there watching what he has to say, how he see, NATO as the biggest to blame for the Ukraine war. And there's a lot of very good data that he showed how people in Ukraine think, since the dissolve of the Soviet Union all the way up to 2014, the Maidan coup, and then also up to this point in 2022 when the war actually started. Okay, and I tell myself, well, there's nothing really special about this video. What is so controversial? Because the internet kind of label him as a controversial realist, right? So I sat there and said, there's nothing really controversial. Is this some kind of clickbait? I don't know all the information as well as he, but other things check out. That's how I see this war is about in rough form. So after that, okay, I went on with my life for 1 to 2 months, and what shocked me is what came after. Okay, it was around, I think, April 2022 when Finland announced that they are going to apply for membership for NATO. Okay, and I worked with Finnish business for over 10 years. And when I saw that, I say that, wait, why? Why are you joining NATO, Finland? Because in my mind, I kind of think that everybody in the world thinks like me regarding this issue, or most, I would say, that this is just a proxy war. Just try to get it done with. I know Europeans are very smart, and they shouldn't let Americans and British start a proxy war here in Ukraine, and it's going to damage Europe too much. And after it start, just try to put it down and settle, freeze the conflict or something. It will last a month or two, and everything is going to be fine. And it didn't go that way. And when Finland applied for NATO membership, I sent my first email, okay, to one of my Finnish friend in Oulu, who I met and talked to for over 10 years. And I still remember in that email, I said just like one sentence. I said something like, really, joining NATO, that's a good idea, right? That's it. That's just one sentence. After that, me and him end up spending perhaps close to 1,000 email exchange over a period of 18 months talking about this issue, okay? And I'm not gonna go over all those emails in detail, of course, but just at the beginning, okay? And I said, why are you doing this? Why is Finland doing this? I thought you guys are smarter than this. Don't join NATO. This is a horrible idea, okay? And I share the John Mearsheimer video to him to, prove my philosophy, my logic, and how I think about this war. And he watched it, and he said that it's bullshit. That's not correct. That's not what this is about. So we had some initial exchanges, but I step back a little bit and I say that, wait, okay, because I am a consultant in real life, and it's very important when you do consulting that you get accurate information, right? If I visit one factory and I see a product, at a certain price, I have to double check with several factories to make sure that that first factory is not scamming me. I have to make sure that it is roughly about that price. So I was very curious, and I said, okay, let's stop talking for a few days. Let me ask my other Finnish friends, because I have this theory or mindset that, okay, maybe you are just a little bit special. Perhaps, other Finns think just like me and not like you. So I start, sending this email to my other Finnish friends and business partners and all those, and they're delighted to talk to me because usually when we do business, even over a decade, we don't really talk about political topics. And when I send them this John Mearsheimer video and have John Mearsheimer explain to them what this war is about, and I asked, well, what do you guys think? Every single one of them said that the video is wrong or deceiving, and it's not why Russia invaded Ukraine. So that was actually the initial shock. 2 months after I watched the first John Mearsheimer video, that I found out that maybe it's me and John and maybe a few other people who are weird and controversial, and the rest of the world might not see this war this way. So I went on further digging about this topic. I went back to China, okay, and I start talking to my relatives and my friends who are not, people who live under a rock, okay? They all been abroad. All my cousins and all my friends had received foreign education in France, UK, Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada. All of them have been outside of China. And okay, let me tell you just one example for my exchange with my father, okay? I know how my father think about this war roughly. And when I sit down one day, okay, and I tell my dad, 晚上不要打麻将，今天来看个东西. So I tell my dad basically, don't play mahjong tonight. Come over here. I have something to show you, okay? There's this Johnny boy who make the video about Ukraine war. You should watch, and it's controversial, okay? And it's proven to be controversial by me, because I sent this video to many of my friends in Europe and a few in US, and they say that, this is not what's going on. This is not what we think. Russia is the sole party to be blamed. And I'm saying that, okay, you should watch this video and tell me how you feel, okay? So he sat there for an hour and watched. And afterward, he said that, well, son, dude, why are you showing me this video? There's nothing new here. He's just thinking just like what 99% of the population on this planet think, This is a waste of time. I want to watch something like, do you have a new 007 movie? That's more exciting. I mean, this guy is just talking about 1 + 1 = 2. So I didn't even bother, okay, sending this video to other Chinese. I just asked them, roughly, what do you think about this Ukraine war and who's at fault? Okay, 99% of the people I asked all say that is NATO who's at fault in China, except for one person who's my mother, which maybe in the future I will introduce her, how he think about the war. But every single one else, they're basically telling me like, dude, Richard, are you stupid or something? Of course it's NATO's fault. Everybody knows it. The entire planet knows it, okay? There's no need to ask this kind of question. What kind of question is that? So that is actually a double shot. I thought that maybe there's some fluctuation. Later on, I found some Chinese that fluctuate a little bit, especially Chinese that were at least living in the to the north. Well, according to Chinese statistic, that is, it was done, I think, around April 2023. It's a survey, okay, and it asks, who is to blame regarding Ukraine war, and I think, if I remember right, roughly, okay, 80% of the Chinese people being surveyed said that NATO is to be blamed. 12% said that Ukraine is to be blamed, and then 8% said it's Russia. So that kind of confirmed about also the experience I had talking, with Chinese people. And it's at that time I start to really appreciate John Mearsheimer, because I went on to read a lot of different papers, articles, and books that is not about Ukraine, but more philosophical things. And this is what I conclude, okay? If you can, people watching this video, okay, if you can find a table in front of you, okay, on the surface, for example, and in your mind, in your brain, okay, you draw a small circle, all right, around the size of a cup holder. And you can draw a smaller circle, you can draw a bigger circle, doesn't matter. And imagine putting yourself in that circle, okay? And that's you. That's your world view. That's my world view, that's yours world. We're just different size of circle on different part of this table, all right? And that represent our perspective, driven by our experience, our culture, and all kind of different things. And that's how we think. Maybe our circles, overlap with each other, okay? Maybe not, depending on where we are, how much we talk to each other, how close our cultures are to each other. And today's world is becoming more polarized. And it's very normal for us to look at ourselves, to be in that circle, our own, experience, culture, ideology, identity, perspective, to say that, okay, I am the normal person. I'm the more educated person. I'm the person who knows how things goes. And that's how the world is and should be. And everyone outside of my circle is either uneducated, brainwashed, disinformed, crazy, or just delusional. Okay, I am the right person. I am the right person to, judge whether things are right or wrong. And this is a common thing that a lot of people, including me, by the way, sometimes think that way. And it is very rare, actually, to have someone like John Mearsheimer, who, by the way, do not have a very complicated, I would say, experience. He was born in Brooklyn, I remember, and he went to school in USC, and then he went on to become a professor in University of Chicago for 30-40 years. So he was not like someone who traveled a lot and live abroad for a long time, okay? And let me show you guys what I'm trying to get to here. In order to understand, truly understand a culture, a history, a mindset, perspective of a nation, people, civilization, whatever you want to call it, you have to be either born in that place, like if you want to say, I really understand French people, you have to be a French person that was born in France or moved there at a very young age and lived there for consistently for a long time, for 40-50 years throughout, several decades. to live through that experience in their shoes, okay? And then you can say that I'm qualified to see the world in a French perspective. And in order to really get to understand another culture, another civilization, another perspective, especially when you're crossing long distance, not just to Italy, but let's say to Japan or to Indonesia, okay? What you have to do is you have to get into a time machine, all right? You have to travel back in time to a very young age. You have to relive that same period of time in that country for 40, 50 years, all right? And then you have to also have your memory intact from the previous, experience in France. And then you can qualify to say that, okay, I understand both the French culture and the French people, and at the same time, I understand the Japanese, for example, if you do that in Japan for 40, 50 years. So even if someone who go and let's say live in China, a foreigner, American, live in China for 30 years, you marry a Chinese woman or man, you spend 3-4 decades in that place. Yes, you can speak the language fluently. I can tell you whether you're Chinese or not through, a phone call. And I met people from Europe and from United States who speak, perfect Chinese. Still, when you actually meet them and you talk to them more, you can tell that there's something deep down in the culture that they're not getting. They understand everything at the surface level, but when you try to really discuss the details, especially when you're talking about political issue, because political issue is very philosophical and complicated, you can tell that that person just cannot grasp what you're thinking. And that's normal. So what made John so special and interesting and astonishing is that no matter the size and the location of his circle and perspective, a very American-centric perspective that is, he is able to leave his circle and start exploring other people's circle and try to understand how other people think and how other people will react. And in fact, I thought this kind of skill and personality should be more common among us human beings, but it ended up to be extremely, extremely rare. And I know a lot of people who are watching this video say that, well, it's not that rare. I think I can do it. But trust me, not many people can do it. People like to project their own perspective on the other people. Okay? What I mean by this, let me give you an example. And talking to not just Finnish people, and talking to Americans, and talking to other Europeans, and Japanese. When you really get into this deep philosophical and political problem, disregarding whether they understand it or not, okay, it's very common for an individual to say that, okay, you say something that I find it to be very weird compared to my point of view, okay? I think that you are just being weird. And this is very common practice. And they have this thinking that, just like me, you're saying that, okay, you are just a weird person. The other 1.4 billion Chinese do not think like you. And I'm quite sure of that. You are just weird, okay? And I can prove that with several of the conversation I had with my European friends. And this is something truly shocking because I do not even think Chinese people noticed this, okay? And not Americans, definitely. When I started talking to Eastern Europeans, okay? There's this weird theory they had. And I first, at the beginning, I thought that, okay, that was just you. Other people do not think like you. This is just way too weird. What they say is, okay, I'm pretty sure that after several months, China is gonna mobilize and invade Russia. There's a good chance. And I said to myself, wait, what? No, that's not what's going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen. And it's not just one person. It's, I would say, from my experience, over 80% of the Europeans that I talk to can either tell me that directly or indirectly, hinting that, okay, eventually in the next couple months or year, Xi Jinping will, mobilize Chinese army along the Russian border and start invading and reconquering the so-called land that belonged to China. And there were times in early 2023 that actually two of my friends in Europe actually came to me and said that, hey, Richard, we're trying to find this massive, Chinese army that are supposed to be, mobilizing along the border between China and Russia, and they will be invading Russia soon. But we cannot find it. We cannot find it on Google Map. Are they using very good concealed equipment? How do they hide their tanks and infantry? I mean, where are they? Can you tell me? And there are other Europeans. They're not saying this directly, but they are sending me, text message saying that, okay, the Xi Jinping said that the Chinese government said that, they're changing the name of the bordering towns or in Russia into Chinese, and this is a clear signal, like they're gonna invade Russia very soon. This is what dictators do. They invade each other when they see an opportunity. And I share that with my Chinese friends, and they are shocked as well. Like, this is totally delusional. And I confirmed with them, and I said that this is not just one person; it's actually several. I would say, like I said, it's 78% of the Europeans that I talk to that kind of have this kind of mindset. So this is what I call this projection from one person's perspective within that circle. Okay, you think that everyone else thinks like you. Putin is a dictator, Xi Jinping is a dictator, dictator invade other countries, and when they see an opportunity, they must invade. That's always the way, right? There's no other possibility. They must be expanding their territory all the time or thinking about expanding. Because when this video and other video go up, probably people will be looking at me and say that, okay, this is just another Chinese propagandist. There's only two type of people in China: those who want to stage a revolution against Xi Jinping and the CCP, or those have been brainwashed and they don't know they're suffering. And there's no way people would like to live in a place like China. That must be the only explanation. There's no other way. And I think this is one of the major reasons I started this channel, to help bridge that gap, to help bring an individual out of his own circle and have him explore other cultures, and here in our channel explore how Chinese people think, how Chinese people see the world, and how we see what is just and unjust, how we see what is fair and unfair. And this is actually one of the main purpose of my YouTube channel. I know there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of questions about what's going around in this world, and the answers that's provided to them are just not satisfying. And perhaps there's a Chinese John Mearsheimer out there who have an answer for you that will satisfy, your logic, and he's just not able to get to you because he does not speak any English. And it would be very interesting for me to perhaps one day have the John Mearsheimer of America to speak to a John Mearsheimer in China to see what kind of remedy or potions they can brew up together to help solve the problems in this world we're living in today. And thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video.